Welcome to the Manifestation and Money podcast, Stacy.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Jen. I'm glad to be here.
I am glad to have you on the show because I feel like right now, especially in this world of all this AI stuff popping up, people are in this world of either they're losing their jobs and they are trying to find something different, or they are
Mhm.
just like me in my future version of Jen, where I was in a career that did not feel good. Every day that I showed up for it, it just felt like it was sucking the life out of me, for a lack of a better term there. It didn't jive with me. So I love how you
Mhm.
have like people like Career 2.0 and people working through finding what that good fit would be, because I think that is
Yeah.
a permission slip that people need to hear of, yes, it is okay to go through life, have a career, and then pivot into something different, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely it is.
Yeah. So I would love for you to share with the listeners who you are, what your story is. We'll start there.
Yeah, great. Well, my name is Stacy Heisey-Terrell. I am a career ownership coach. And in my coaching practice, I really focus on how do you get into the driver's seat of your career? How does your career align with your big goals, your life, and how is it propelling you instead of you feeding it and constantly caring for the job? How is the job or the career feeding you and taking care of you and your family and getting you to where you need to go, where you want to go?
Yeah, I love that because I think we are taught or we grow up expecting that we need to go up and get the job. So we pick our job. And quite often at a young
Mhm.
age, you're coming out of high school and you're picking a job, and just that's what you're expected to go do the schooling for and go into. But
Mhm.
you don't always really think of the lifestyle piece first, and what kind of life do you want? And does that career fit into your life, right? Isn't that kind of
Right.
backwards?
Yes. Well, and how does that career evolve as your life changes?
Mm.
So often I talk to people who, when they were young, they were chasing the dollars or had a certain lifestyle. But now maybe the kids are out of the house, life has changed, they want a little more freedom instead of, and want to trade off. But you're locked in, you're on the wheel, right? And how do you make a change? How do you make a pivot or find a career that fits the new season you're in or a different season of
Right. So
life?
when people come to you, are they typically stuck in that hamster wheel of, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this, I want something different, but don't know where to spin to?
Yes. So a lot of my clients are kind of in that I chose this career or I fell backwards into the career early in my life and now I'm kind of have golden handcuffs. I can't leave my organization because I like the money. It feeds my lifestyle. We've grown accustomed to it. I need the benefits, but I'm unhappy or this isn't satisfying or often I hear things like, I'm bored, or I want to learn something new, or I'm not, I want to have some mission more in my life and feel like I'm making an impact or leaving a legacy, and I don't feel like that. Or I get people who are going through a layoff and, the universe just thrust upon them an opportunity to realign and really reassess. Do I want to jump back into the pool I was just in, or might it be time to look around and do a little reassessment, realignment with where are my goals now, currently, and what kind of career would support that?
Yeah. So when you're chatting with somebody then and they come to you, they want to make money, where do you, as a starting point with them, so to take them to a place where you can make money, but also have that satisfaction behind making the money?
Yeah, yeah. So when I start with a new client, we talk a lot about our ILB goals, our income, lifestyle, wealth, and equity goals. And usually something's out of whack in one of those, and might be driving that dissatisfaction. My income's great, but or even maybe more than what I need, but my lifestyle is suffering. I want to see the kids' games, or I don't want to travel so much, or I want to visit the grandkids. Or they're thinking about that legacy. What am I leaving for my family? What impact have I made on the world? Is my current career, that's weighing on them and feels out of balance. So first we get clear on where are we headed? What does that criteria for a good career opportunity look like? And then we try to get creative about, well, where are those opportunities? So sometimes that is in their current job, and maybe it's we're missing some legacy that we can capture in a volunteer opportunity or a part-time business that gets added on or something additional. Sometimes it's okay, I need to throw this out and start fresh. What does this really look like? How do I take my skills, repackage them into a new arena? And frankly, a lot of folks I talk to are they're really interested in working and building a great work culture. And sometimes the way to do that is to cut your own path and to think about business ownership and really being in charge of what does that look like for others? What does that look like for you? Control over your schedule in the ultimate sense. What could that bring you that a corporate career or that known career isn't or can't provide anymore for you?
Yeah. And do you have the conversation then of for because not everybody's cut out to be an entrepreneur, right? Can you kind
Right.
of gauge that? Is there like a set of processes that you're walking through of can you do the self-employed lifestyle versus because some
Yeah.
people step into
Yeah.
that and it feels lonely, it feels weird, you're accountable for everybody else or accountable for all the things that have to
Yeah.
be done. They
Right.
hate it and others thrive on it.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. And so I think some of that kind of letting down some of our preconceived notions and really exploring how would this opportunity fit my goals. If I don't have the investment to make into a business, like, okay, that's going to be really hard. Or if I don't have family support, or if I just don't want to do that. Sometimes people get into discovery and they think like we all have these notions, or a lot of people, the Entrepreneur Source, my organization, thinks about 75% of the population, the adult population, thinks at some time or another, wow, it'd really be great to work for myself. But only about 5% of people do it. So that gap could be not exploring, or it could just be like, maybe this isn't for me. And we might think it's for us until we get in and do some discovery, talk to some people, and then really, see like, this is not the thing. But regardless of where my clients end up and and kind of where they land on that, I always see the people who give themselves to discovery are kind of like, well, I don't know, like let me ask some questions or do some research. They always have sparks of creativity go off in different areas. And so they come away with something more about like, oh, I didn't realize this about myself, but I really like this type of environment or this type of work, or how do I get more of that in my life? And I think that's just kind of a healthy, fun process to go through every now and then, those realignments of, am I on the right path? What else is out there that I'm missing? How are other people making life work that I just kind of don't see or I don't pay attention to? And I could stop and ask some questions and get some ideas about my own life. That can be really enriching and fun too.
Yeah. One of my favorite questions is what do I want? And I think
Yeah.
it can be applied to any area of your life. And far too often we don't ask that question, or at least I didn't used to, and you get down the rabbit hole of all of a sudden you're in the job and you're bored, but
Yeah.
you like just by asking yourself that one question, you can open up the doors. Like you said, if you're bored,
Right.
maybe it's not necessarily that you're bored at your job. Maybe going to a job that's boring is
Mhm.
good for you because then at the end of the day, you have all of this energy to go out and start a new hobby or a thing. So maybe it's not the job, maybe
Yeah.
the job part's fine, but you're missing that piece in your life.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And it takes some self-reflection to realize like what is that? Do I need to work on a new degree? Do I need to do a volunteer task? What is that? Do I need to spend time with a different type of person that because I'm missing them in my life? Often I'll hear people, I don't get to be creative in my job, or I work with data all day long and I really want to be a painter. And it's like, well, you probably shouldn't quit your day job, right? But how do we get you more time to enjoy that or find those creative outlets? Or are there creative outlets that you're just not seeing and you're passing those by? So sometimes that's just really fun to take a look at because I do get clients who you'll see in their face these, oh my goodness, like, I've been missing this, or this was under my nose, or my wife's been telling me this for 10 years. Maybe I should do it. So you do have those moments where people are like, this is not, this is life changing, but not necessarily life altering to have those epiphanies.
Yeah, and epiphanies for the better, right? Because sometimes we have things
Mhm.
in our life that you start a family, you start different pieces of your life, and things get pushed to the side. So sometimes it might be just a matter of picking that thing back up again to add that
Pulling them
element.
back in, right? Like
Yeah.
I had to give this up when I had newborns, but little kids in the house. But now, like the kids put themselves to bed and they feed, like, can you bring that back in? Yeah,
Yeah. And how often do you find a person changes a career in a lifetime? Because I think back in the day, people would kind of pick their career and they just wrote it out, right? Till they got their pension at the
yeah,
end. I don't think that's as
yeah.
common anymore.
I think you're right. I don't have data on that,
Mhm.
but my experience with clients is that I'm in my 50s and I think, kind of our Gen Xers, baby boomer, like we kind of came to this later. And so we're hitting midlife and thinking, gosh, is there a different way to live? Like, could I have more of what I want? But I think the millennials and even this Gen Z, they're getting to that sooner. So I have often late 20s, early 30-year-olds who are like, I'm sick of the rat race. I'm like, you barely been in. They're much smarter than I was, right? And in identifying what do I need? What do I want from my career? And how do I have it fit into my life rather than doing the back bends to fit into the career life. So I think that awareness is working its way younger and younger in society.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I
uh,
wonder if that has to do with everything like social media and stuff. The world is moving at a much faster pace. So they're able to see much more scope on things that are out there, but we're also used to much more instant gratification nowadays. So for the younger generation who, like you said, you've barely been in the rat race and you want to get out, it's because they're like, oh, this isn't, I'm not getting the instant gratification anymore. So what's
right,
next? So it'll be curious to
right.
see as these generations play out for the next few
Yeah,
decades what that looks like people
yeah.
making money doing just a multitude of different things. And do you find some people, if they're stuck in a career spot, they add on a side hustle?
Yeah, I think that can sometimes just be the new mountain or the creative outlet that breathes a little life back into their, day job or their main career. So I've had clients who have thought about that and, I want more customer interaction, or I want to be around people, or I want to be around certain types of people. How can I do that or get to learn some about business without going all in, or that sounds too scary. How can I do this part-time? I've had clients too who are thinking about their adult children. Like, how could I do something with my kid that is struggling to launch? Or, I really think this would be a nice thing that I could help start and give to my family or could sustain them. So people's motivations are all over the place, but I think we have those nagging things in us and giving it some space to come out like, well, what is bothering me? What am I missing? And again, being creative about filling that. What does that look like?
Yeah, I know for me, now this was over a decade ago now, probably a decade and a half ago, when I was at a job where I absolutely just hit that point where I was like, nope, don't want it anymore. I started looking into what my options were, and I came across a person like you who was able to be like, let's look at the bigger picture here. Don't just run out and pick another job. Let's
Right,
look at
right.
what do you want your lifestyle to look like and fill
Hmm.
in the pieces of how the job can fit in. And I was like, that
Yeah.
was so eye-opening for me.
Right.
And so I stayed at that job that I really didn't like for another couple years, but I added on a side hustle of starting to invest in real estate. And
Hmm.
suddenly that job didn't feel so bad. And I think part of it was because
Yes.
I knew I was creating an out. I was creating an out,
Yeah.
but the little things that used to bug me, it just didn't seem to bug me as much because I was building something else alongside of
Hmm.
it. And I used to go home at
Hmm.
the end of my day feeling absolutely exhausted and burnt out from the job. But then once I added in this other thing, so I'm adding more to my plate, but
Uh-huh.
somehow I had more energy. It was like a newfound
Yes.
excitement for building something
Yes.
else that I was like, it was that extra thing was the push that I needed to move through and get me past
Yes.
that
I
job that I
love
wanted
that.
to leave.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and yes, and I think I've had clients who, as we've explored business ownership or, how would different industries or different job titles use your skill set, then they feel empowered, right? Because you don't feel stuck anymore. You're taking some of that power back to, this isn't the only game in town. Our corporations tend to tell us, right? Like you gotta stay here because you're not gonna find as good a thing as you've got with us. And that's just not true. And so I think too, exploring those options, whether you exercise them or not, realizing you've got options really changes your attitude and you feel empowered and maybe I don't need to put up with all these little things, or maybe I can let it roll off my back a little easier because like if it gets to a point, I know I can do other things. I've
Mhm.
got options. So
And
I think
people love
that's,
options.
you're right.
Yeah, you don't want to
Yes.
feel like you are just stuck in a hole somewhere because you signed up for that pension job and you took the schooling for it and you put all this time and effort into
Right.
it. Like I think we create that own
Yeah.
box. So to listen to somebody that like you say, it's okay, you have options. Yes, you might be in that
Hmm.
box, but we can peek out of that box and we can explore what other options there are
Yeah.
outside of that box and see if you would like to
Yeah.
move towards one of them, right?
Yes, yes. Well, I think it's fun too. I recently had a client and she'd gotten a certification for her job position. She's like, I'm not really interested in this, but I spent all this time getting this certification. And I'm like, well, why don't you just do a little job search on the certification? Who else uses that? And she came back, she was so excited. She's like, I could work for this type of person or that type of person, like all these things.
Mhm.
And here she thought she had dug herself a little further into the channel. And I'm like, no, 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 no.
Mhm.
Like those skills transfer. There's a lot of things you can do with that. So I think sometimes having that, giving yourself permission to do a little looking, a little research also can be refreshing.
Yeah,
And
refreshing, right? Because you might do the research and go, okay, no, I am happy with what I have compared to what my options are
right,
right now.
right.
Or one of
Uh,
them is better than what I have right now, and I would like to explore that. Like it's just
yeah,
information at a certain point.
yeah. Yes, or this isn't a fit for me now or my family now, but Now I've got a different longer term vision. My 5 year plan just switched a bit. And maybe I can hang in with the job because I know I'm going someplace else down the road. So again, that how do you create options? They're out there. Everybody's got them. Nobody's stuck. It's just getting visibility for our little options. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, in this changing world right now, I think you're going to have more people knocking on your door going, help. I need to pivot into something. The world is changing too fast that I can't even keep up with seeing what's in front of me. So I need you to help and just ground me to see what's out there for me,
What
right?
is out there? Yeah.
Yeah. So I would love for you to share what your biggest piece of advice would be for someone to go out and create a life they love. And this can you can come at it from a career angle if you want.
I believe I've kind of built my career around the belief that work is meaningful. Like we need meaningful work and things to do. And so finding what that is, what does your career enable you to live like? How does it propel you and spreading your values or your thoughts in the world? And often that feels very foreign to us, that we try to sneak little pieces of ourselves to our jobs instead of letting our jobs really say who we are and what we're about. So I think my advice would be, you know, how do we turn that your vision maybe upside down and look at things in a really different lens to see what else is out there? What could you add or take away that might make life more fulfilling?
Hmm. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And where can listeners reach out, connect with you, and carry on this conversation?
Yes. So again, my name is Stacy Heisey-Terrell. It's not an easy last name, but people can certainly find me on LinkedIn. Might be easier hitting my website, which is just my life, my biz, B-I-Z. And that takes you in to connect with me, to get on my calendar for a exploration discussion to see if I might be of use to you or help as you're sifting through all those options.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, I will link all that in the show notes for everyone. And thank you so much for joining me on the show today, Stacy.
Thank you.